PanTech Chronicles, Book 1, Shadowfalcon, written by F. Lockhaven and M. A. Owens. Chapter 22. Unfortunately, I had no idea what I was doing when it came to training a falcon. Luckily, I had foundational knowledge that gave me a great place to start. I understood birds, but Ghost was no mere bird. In days, he was able to follow verbal commands. Days, not weeks. Kara has been there with me for the first couple of nights, far out into the desert. She had to fetch leather to strengthen the glove on that first night after Ghost's talons went right through it. The end result ended up being 3 times as thick as before, and a stiffer leather. Ghost didn't seem to mind. Then again, he didn't seem to mind anything. Unless Ghost was just an oddity, even amongst other Shadowfalcons, I found it difficult to believe that there were many of these creatures out there actively avoiding humans. Ghost had several chances to leave. On the 3rd night, I cut the leather strap bindings from his legs, half expecting him to flee. It would have been all right with me if he had. I never liked the idea of owning an animal like this and keeping them against their will with no chance of escape. Yet, when I cut the bindings, he appeared completely uninterested. Did he lack the intelligence to realize that they were gone, or was he actually choosing to stay? It was surely the latter, but why? It went on like this for several more days. On the 6th day, I killed a rabbit, showed it to Ghost, and in hours he'd gone out and retrieved another rabbit. Dead, like the one I'd shown him.
How do I tell you to bring it back paralyzed and not dead?
I asked. Ghost tilted his head, first to one side, then to the other.
Can you understand me? Are you trying to learn to understand my language?
A restrained chuckle came from behind me.
What are the two of you talking about over here?
Mother asked, petting the fox she was holding in her arms. Now that Kara had finished modifying the glove, she didn't need to come along with me every night. Mother volunteered to come instead and insisted on bringing that iron fox with her. I was sure they'd end up killing one another, but they didn't. Somehow.
Ghost is trying to tell me something. Or nothing. I can't figure him out. When I speak to him directly, he tilts his head. Have you noticed that?
Omen does that too, you know. Maybe they're just curious,
she said, shrugging.
Omen? You named her Omen? Seriously, I know you've taken to her, but I really wish you'd left her home.
Hold on. One criticism at a time, please. Omen and I were just out taking a walk. Do you own the desert now?
She turned her head away from me in mock frustration, punctuated with an exaggerated humph.
No. Do you?
I asked.
Not everything holds a grudge like you, Taylor. Ghost barely even notices her.
And what about Omen?
I snapped.
She's nervous. Look at her ears pulled back and her tail tucked.
And why do you think I brought her? Like all of us, she will need to face her fears quickly. Otherwise, she will lack confidence and be vulnerable forever. In this, we and animals are alike,
she said.
That's because we are animals, Mother. Also, how did she become friendly with you so quickly? You've handled foxes before. Where you're from, am I right?
Mother smiled and nodded, scratching Omen's neck before putting her down and watching her run off into the vastness of the desert. She smiled again, pulling 2 wooden swords from her belt.
Why don't you send Ghost to fetch a rabbit? Since I can't reason with you to stay out of trouble, I should teach you to be better prepared for it.
I hummed a deep tone, and Ghost flew off.
Non-verbal commands. Clever,
Mother said, tapping her chin and smiling, tossing me a wooden sword with her other hand. I let it fly past me and land on the ground.
You're letting her go?
She deserves to be free. She isn't like Ghost, Taylor. She's more like you. She'll never listen to anyone. She'll only be happy going her own way.
But she seemed to really like you,
I said. She laughed and sat down on the sand, patting the spot beside her. I sat down next to her and rested my head on her shoulder.
Taylor, if it's all right with you, could you tell me about Linus?
I looked up at her, surprised. I wanted to be upset, but I couldn't find the emotion. She seemed to notice my expression.
You don't have to. It's just that you were never really interested in boys these past few years. Your father and I wondered if you would ever be. Your brother talks about a different girl every day, it seems. You always seem to hate PanTech so much, and he was a soldier. I know there must be more to him than I realized. We could see how you'd fallen for him. I just want to know more about him.
I stared down at the sand for a long time, hugging my knees to my chest. Mother deserved to know more about him.
Linus was...
I began, but my voice caught, and I found myself unable to fight back the tears. Mother wrapped her arm around me and hugged me tightly.
It's all right. You can tell me when you're ready.
I sniffed and took several deep breaths.
No, I'm all right. I just need a minute.
She nodded and kept her arm around me tightly while I considered how to put it into words. Did I even know what made Linus so wonderful? I hadn't thought about it in terms that could be explained. I just felt it.
Linus was brave. He was bold, and somehow he put everyone else before himself, and also followed his own path. No matter what the consequences were, he did what he thought was right. He went against his fellow soldiers, his commander, and even PanTech itself, and it didn't even matter to him if he won. All that mattered to him is that it was what he wanted to do, and he thought it was the right thing to do. I've never met a man like that before. It only took a few short days before I really knew him. The way he stood up to the chieftain for that girl he didn't even know, and for me. The way he went with me to fight the snake. It was my responsibility, not his. This was my village, not his. These are my friends, my family, and neighbors, not his. He did it for no other reason than because it was the right thing to do. I knew when we'd killed the snake, and he protected me from the explosion, that I loved him with all my heart. Maybe he didn't feel that way about me, not yet, but I just knew. If we only had time.
I lost my composure and the battle with my tears. Mother hugged me tightly.
I knew the same with your father, Taylor. The day I met him, I asked him to show me his inventions, days before PanTech decided to destroy them. He hated me at first. He was convinced that I'd asked about his inventions as a spy and reported him. It was weeks before he would speak to me again. In the end, he found that he loved me more than he hated PanTech. And I loved him more than I loved PanTech. I'm so sorry, Taylor. I wish you could have had the same chance. It's unfair that was robbed from you. I know it doesn't seem like it now, but eventually you will heal, and maybe you'll find another worthy of your love.
I know what you're saying is true, Mother, but right now
I was interrupted by something suddenly appearing in front of us, slamming onto the ground. I squeaked and fell backward, and even Mother jumped a bit. In the dim lantern light, I could see that it was a rabbit, but I was also pretty certain of the fact that they don't just fall from the sky.
Ghost, was that you? Ghost, get down here. Bad ghost.
Mother held her hand over her mouth in a failed attempt to hide the growing snicker. I put my hand on my chest and took a deep breath, then let it out.
He nearly frightened me to death. I didn't teach him to do that.
Maybe you were right.
She said once she finally managed to stop laughing. I shook my fist at Ghost, wherever he was.
About what?
I asked.
About him being clever. I believe he was playing with you, startling you for a bit of fun.
No way. Could he? No.
He probably just dropped it by mistake.
Ghost suddenly appeared in front of us, landing on the ground near the rabbit, and looked up at me. He nodded toward the rabbit.
You want to eat it?
I asked. He nodded toward it again several times.
Okay, eat it.
He walked over to the rabbit and began eating it, more slowly than I expected.
Did you see that, Mother?
Do you still think he's just a mere bird?
She asked.
I don't know what to think. What about you?
She shrugged.
You're the expert, Taylor. Your father believes he's nearly divine, perhaps more than nearly. Kara seems to believe the same. You are in a better position than anyone else to learn the truth.
The truth scares me sometimes,
I said. That might be the truest thing I'd ever said to Mother, Except it was more than just the truth that scared me. Maybe that's why I tried so hard to appear like I was scared of absolutely nothing. Maybe I'd convinced everyone of that. Now I just needed to convince myself.
Me too, Taylor. I think the same is true for everyone, except for maybe your father. But enough of that. Since Ghost will be busy for a bit longer, I'll train you with the sword tonight, on one condition.
I raised my brow.
Oh? And what might that be?
She grinned.
You have to let me teach you how to apply eye makeup.
I rolled my eyes.
Fine, deal.
She smiled, and I felt a warmth come over me, like walking up to a fire on a cold night. This feeling was followed quickly by a sting of guilt, remembering all the times I disrespected Mother and assumed she had the worst of motives, that she didn't love me, that she only cared about herself and being pretty, or that she might faint at the sight of dirt on her clothing. Although I wouldn't dare allow her to know it, I now very much looked forward to putting on makeup together.
Wise choice.
She said.
Today, it will be the sword, and tomorrow we will go over a few hand-to-hand techniques. Go ahead, pick it up.
I leaned down and picked up the wooden sword, doing my best to copy her stance.
Ready?
She asked.
Ready.
Chapter 23. The next month went by like a blur. I continued taking Ghost out at night for training and sleeping in a couple of extra hours in the morning. I'd moved him into my room, and he'd healed up nicely. It was still much safer to have another person with me, just in case I was accidentally hit with his paralysis toxin. Not to mention, his talons were sharper than any knife or spear I'd ever seen. Even though he'd never tried to hurt me on purpose, I still had to be extremely careful. Ghost's rate of learning was nothing short of incredible. In only a few weeks, he'd gone from staying on my arm without being held, to flying back, to chasing a lure we'd made from rabbit fur, to going out and retrieving rabbits of his own and bringing them back. Now he'd mastered attack commands and differentiated between commands to use his toxin, or not use it, and whether or not to kill. Sometimes, when I'd let Ghost hunt for a while, Mother would continue teaching me sword technique and hand-to-hand combat. Still, she preferred to instruct me as she always had, in the arts of charm, persuasion, and beauty. Only now, I wasn't so dismissive and rebellious. Although I didn't choose to exercise these skills, well, ever really, I still committed them to memory, for a time when they might be practical and useful. I'd taken to wearing my hair in dreadlocks, the way Father had when I was younger. Mother helped since my hair was much different from his. To my great surprise, she approved of this new look. She said it added a layer to my unusual beauty. In reality, I valued the extra few minutes of sleep it bought me, and although I did enjoy the look, it really was more about saving time. Sacrificing beauty for a few minutes of rest, now that Mother probably wouldn't approve of. Then again, she did scold me for not getting enough sleep, because she claimed it would cause me to get bags under my eyes. There were only so many things I could juggle at once. My 18th birthday came, and Father gifted me one of his smoking pipes. The one Linus smoked the day before he was murdered by PanTech. Despite Father's encouragement, I wasn't ready to smoke it, even though I valued it greatly. Kara had given me a pair of leather boots she'd made with the help of the village's cobbler. Mother had given me a strange black dress. She said it was one of her most prized possessions, and that it was her only thing left from her home. She'd worn it when she left to join PanTech. It had ridiculously baggy sleeves, and an equally ridiculously wide belt that wrapped around the waist. I thought it looked embarrassingly silly, but I didn't dare say such a thing to Mother. I accepted it with great appreciation. If nothing else, because of how much it meant to Mother, that alone made it mean something to me. It was now only a matter of weeks until the exams started, and I would have to decide if I passed, whether or not to join PanTech and leave the village. I was leaning very strongly towards staying and continuing to run the clinic. Mother and Ferris felt very strongly that I could make a bigger difference. If I joined, maybe I could work my way up in the hierarchy after a while and change how things were run. I think I'd always believed Shadowfalcons were more likely to be real, then the possibility PanTech could be changed from the inside. Then again, Shadowfalcons did turn out to be real, so I couldn't exactly dismiss that based solely on the odds of it happening. I just didn't know if I wanted to be the one to waste my life on a long shot like that. I'd be just as happy, probably happier, running the clinic for the rest of my life and personally passing it on to someone else. Or was I just lying to myself? 1 week after my birthday, Kara invited me to her home. She said there was someone I should meet, but left out any other details. When I arrived, a young woman was sitting at the table with Kara. She looked older than us, probably in her late 20s, and wore a warm smile that didn't seem to weaken upon my arrival.
"You must be Taylor,"
She said, her smile still unwavering. I returned her smile cautiously.
I don't know who you must be.
I admitted.
"Taylor, this is Lucille.
Kara offered.
She's a friend of mine, and I thought you might like to meet her. She's someone who hates PanTech just as much as you do."
I nodded, but immediately felt nervous. I had a feeling I knew where this was going, but I was put in the awkward position of neither being able to say so aloud, nor knowing what I'd say even when I could.
Nice to meet you, Lucille.
"Taylor, I promise I'll get to the point quickly, and I won't waste your time. I know you're a busy woman, and you were probably preparing for your exams coming up since you just turned 18.
I shook my head.
Not exactly. I'm thinking I'm going to refuse admission if I pass.
Is that because you like it here, or because you hate PanTech?"
She asked, leaning forward, resting her elbows on the table. She was still smiling, but with a small adjustment, it took on a more mischievous feel.
Both. After all, my father stayed, but PanTech stopped him from pursuing his work because it would reduce the adversity of children in the village. Thankfully, they don't care so much about animals. As long as the animals aren't benefiting us, I'm free to help as many as I want. My teacher actually failed the exam but was a pretty decent veterinarian anyway.
Still smiling, she shook her head.
You forgot the part about PanTech.
I'm sorry, but I don't really want to talk about PanTech. I despise them. They took someone important away from me, and I'll never forgive them for it. Don't bring them up again, or I'm leaving.
My breathing hastened, and my blood started to boil. It was an all too familiar feeling over the past month, as I struggled to keep my already bad temper, now much worse, under enough control to function from day to day. She held up her hands in defeat, finally letting her smile fade from her face.
Not even if I offer you a chance to harm them, right here, in your very own village?
My skin tingled, and my anger gave way to knots in my stomach.
You're a rebel. One of those that PanTech is staying outside the village to collect information on.
And yet, we're still here. Not one of us has been caught, and we've stayed one step ahead of them at every turn. We know we can't take them in a firefight. Our sticks and rocks and spears are no match for their rifles and blasters. We don't have special suits to make us stronger, faster, and stabilize our wounds. We don't have vehicles to cover distant land in minutes or limitless wealth from PanTech to replenish anything lost or damaged. What we do have is the human mind. In this, we are the same. No different at all. What we can do, Taylor, is outsmart them and outmaneuver them.
I stared at her for a moment, locking eyes, and after that moment, I was sure she'd look away. She didn't. Her smile didn't return, and she remained stoic and confident. This wasn't a pitch. This was the truth. At least, the truth as she understood it, which is all the truth is to any of us. I broke the connection first.
Kara, why did you invite me here to meet Lucille? Are you—
I started, but thought better of finishing the question.
"No. I'm far too scared to be a rebel, Taylor. You know that. But you're brave. You're so smart and so brave, and most importantly, you have—"
I shook my head subtly, and fortunately, Lucille wasn't looking in my direction when I did. Don't you dare mention ghost. Kara took the hint. She continued, without doing anything to acknowledge my gesture or missing a step.
Such a kind heart.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure kind hearts is what a rebellion needs. I better.
It's not the kind heart I'm questioning, Taylor.
Lucille interrupted.
It's the brave part.
She eyed me up and down. I wasn't about to take the bait.
If you say so, I think I'd better go.
Lucille continued on, as though I'd said nothing.
Between your pretty mother and the renowned genius of your father, I don't think you've had a truly hard day in your life.
Uh-huh.
I said, standing up.
Good evening?
The only PanTech soldier you'll ever hurt is the blonde one you got killed.
I had only begun to turn to leave, but whirled back around, took a step toward the table, and jumped into the air, stretching out my body in a drop-kicking motion, aimed for Lucille's face. She slid her head to the side and wrapped her arm around my legs, pivoting and throwing me off into the floor. I jumped to my feet as she reached for my shirt, grabbing her wrists and twisting them as best I could to throw her off balance, using her forward momentum against her, just the way Mother had shown me. It worked, sending her tripping to the floor, scraping her chin, and bloodying her nose as she landed face first, while I held her wrists to prevent her from breaking her own fall. I twisted her arm behind her back, and without even realizing what I was doing, I put her in a position to dislocate her shoulder. Before I could pull back to finish the motion, Kara grabbed me and began pulling me away.
Taylor, stop! Please! She's just testing you!
Kara said, as though that would make a difference.
I know she's testing me, but
I turned my attention to Lucille.
if you ever speak of Linus again, if you so much as whisper his name, I will kill you.
I shouted. Kara put her fingers to her lips, desperate for me to lower my voice.
Shh! Someone might hear.
Lucille rolled onto her back, finally finished with her moaning from what must have been an extremely painful impact to the nose.
Ha! I wasn't expecting that at all. I think I learned my lesson today. Maybe it's time to retire that tactic since I can't back it up anymore. She's right that I was testing you, and you passed.
I pulled against Kara, growling as I dragged her with me toward Lucille, ready to finish what I started. Lucille threw up her hands, surrendering.
Wait! Before you jump on top of me and start bashing my face in, ask yourself which you hate worse. The lie I told to make you angry, that you were the one who got him killed, or the people who actually killed him.
I stopped, feeling the motivation to fight fading from my muscles. That question was easy to answer, and it was easier to answer than I realized. If the rebels had a way to hurt PanTech, I wanted a piece of that. Maybe for every bit of pain I gave them, it would heal a part of the pain they gave me. Not that we could ever be even. It would never be enough. Even I knew that, as consumed by it as I was. But that didn't stop me from making the decision. I didn't answer the question, only offering a question of my own.
I'd like to meet the rest of you. How soon can you introduce me?
Chapter 24. It turned out there was going to be a meeting tonight, and Lucille invited me along. I was blindfolded and led through the village. I couldn't tell which house we entered, but I knew we were still in the village and that we'd entered a house. After walking through the house, a door opened, and I stepped down into a passageway where we continued walking straight for some time. Was this a tunnel? It must have been. And building a tunnel beneath the sand is no easy task. No wonder PanTech hadn't been able to find them yet. A hiding place this elaborate wasn't something they were likely to expect. Eventually, we opened another door, and I heard several people stop talking as we entered the room. Lucille removed my blindfold, and 4 other people were in the room with us. Lighting was dim, and everyone sat close around a small table, with only a small candle in the middle.
I guess it went better than you thought, huh?
A small woman said, looking to Lucille. Lucille shrugged off the comment.
Everyone, I'd like you to meet Taylor. Taylor, meet Heather, Ludo, Lapis, and Cairn. Ludo is our leader. He and his father discovered this natural cave and turned it into what it is today.
I'm not sure what I was expecting. An army? Uniforms? PanTech soldiers held prisoner in dungeons? We were a small village. A large group would have been discovered already. I should have realized this earlier. Only a small group like this could possibly operate underneath PanTech without being discovered by now. It was stupid of me to think any different. Ludo was a large man who must have been in his late 20s. He was easily among the biggest men I'd seen, and, unlike the others, wasn't someone you'd forget if you'd seen him before. I had, of course, seen him many times. He was the cobbler Kara worked with to create the boots I was currently wearing. As though reading my mind, he spoke up in his deep voice.
"How are those boots working for you?"
He asked.
They're exceptional. I didn't think of you as a rebel type.
I said, not keen on allowing the change of subject to go any further. Lapis, a brown-haired, round-cheeked older woman, laughed.
So much for the small talk.
Ludo grinned.
"What is a rebel type, Taylor?"
My mind immediately went to Linus. He was not so much a rebel, but a hero. In a world where the bad guys are the ones with the power, the hero has no choice but to rebel someone who always has a problem following orders or believing what they're told. Someone who didn't have a problem being mean to people who were mean and hurting people who hurt people. That's what I imagined when I thought of a rebel, but now that image only brought me pain. I wanted to say all those things aloud. Instead, I said nothing.
"Taylor?"
He leaned forward, trying to get a closer look at me under the dim light that made it difficult to make out anything but the most basic of features. I shook my head.
There's no such thing, I guess. I don't seem like a rebel type either, I bet. But here we are because someone has to be.
Cairn, the oldest one there, spoke up. His long graying hair was the most visible of anyone's, reflecting the candle's tiny dancing flame.
"I couldn't have said it better myself."
Lucille's smile was back in full force.
Are you kidding? You say that yourself all the time.
That got at least a chuckle out of everyone. Everyone except myself and Ludo. Ludo motioned toward a chair for me to sit in, which I did.
"It's probably about time we got down to business. Don't worry about something as trivial as joining a group, Taylor. If you want to help, we'll be happy to have your help. And if that help is hurting PanTech, then we're on the same team."
Everyone nodded solemnly at that. He continued.
PanTech brings in supplies to trade with the village at least once a month. This time they brought extra, probably because of the extended stay that was planned. Thanks to our little club here, looks to be about 3 times as much, which does a couple of things. 1, it gives us an idea of how long they plan to stay before resupplying. 2, it makes things a lot more difficult for them to keep up with, given they have the same number of soldiers as always. With 3 of them down, now there are only 4 left. It's hard to even have a rotating sleep schedule with that many soldiers. It's even harder to waste time guarding medicine and food and wine. We're going to sneak in, and with a simple distraction, we'll walk out with a fortune. That is, as long as the distraction can keep going for more than a few minutes.
I spoke up.
What's the distraction?
He stared at me for a moment before answering.
Well, you just had to ask the one thing I hadn't thought out yet.
I looked down, considering whether or not I should offer up my own idea on the matter.
You have an idea, don't you?
He asked, reading my mind yet again.
I'll go into the camp and ask to speak to the commander. I have a lot to say to her, and it'll be interesting to the other soldiers there. I was with the 3 soldiers who died, and I can give her a recounting of the events that took place that no one else can. She'll listen to me, and I'm sure she'll have plenty to say. While she's speaking to me, the rest of you can sneak in to carry out as many supplies as you can before she and I finish speaking.
Ludo shook his head.
You do know she'll kill you if she realizes we're taking the supplies. That woman is as sharp as a tack, and she has an enhancement. That means she can break your neck before you realize she has her hands on it. No, we should come up with something.
Come up with something different if you want.
I interrupted.
It's something I'm going to do anyway, so you may as well take advantage of the opportunity. Or don't. It's up to you.
Ludo smiled.
Well, what can I say to that? I guess that plugs the hole we had then.
Lapis shook her head.
Maybe, but is this really the kind of mission we should be bringing? Well, is it really a good first mission?
Cairn laughed.
First mission? This is the first real mission for any of us. PanTech doesn't exactly leave a lot of openings. We've been waiting years for a chance. She's just as ready as any of us are.
Ludo nodded several times, clearly wanting to move the conversation along.
You're both right, and she's just as capable as anyone here, from what I understand. Lucille wouldn't have brought her here otherwise, and I trust Lucille's judgment. Now, on to the plan of action. We are going to take a wide trip around, and the same wide trip back. We'll leave several minutes earlier than Taylor, both to avoid suspicion and also to make sure we get there just a little after she does. Karen and I will take a look at the map tonight. We'll have to be quiet, which means no carts near the camp. We'll bring them with us, but they'll have to be left a good distance away to make sure they're neither heard nor spotted.
So, how are we supposed to get anything of value if we have to make big, long trips to our carts?
Heather asked. Ludo shrugged.
That's a limitation we have to live with, Heather. We can move quickly, but we just have to move quietly.
Sure.
She argued.
But wouldn't we be better off not bringing carts at all since they'd just slow us down? And we're probably only going to get one trip in without putting Taylor at risk anyway.
Ludo opened his mouth to speak but stopped, and everyone sat quietly for a moment.
She has a point,
Karen said.
Carts are going to slow us down a lot on the return trip, too. If anything at all happens, we'll have to abandon them.
Ludo nodded.
Yes, probably for the best that we just go with packs and just fill up on whatever we can carry. Focus on the smaller, more valuable items. Less likely they're going to notice anything missing that way, too. I doubt they pay much attention to inventory, if they even keep inventory at all, since nothing is ever missing.
Lucille slapped the table.
Here's a crazy idea. You ready?
Everyone looked at her, but judging by the tired expressions on their faces, they already knew and didn't like where this was going. She continued.
There's only 4 of them. We can bring our weapons, ambush them, and steal their armor and blasters. We'd have plenty of time to take the supplies, and if the suits let us leave the boundary, we can go and look for other zones to join us, using their vehicle to cover a lot of distance we normally couldn't. When the next group comes in to relieve them, or see what's wrong, we ambush them with our new weapons and armor, and repeat the process, maybe even with help from other zones. We could be the first step in a long march that leads all the way to headquarters.
Everyone looked back and forth between one another as a cloud of dread seemed to descend on the room. I liked the plan, personally. There are only a few problems.
I like it, but it won't work.
I said. Lucille shot me a glare, and for a moment, I thought she might take a swing at me.
Because of the commander's enhancement? If we get the jump on her, it won't come into play. Once she's out of the way, the other 3 will hardly be a threat at all if we're careful.
I tapped my finger on the table, shaking my head.
That's not the problem, or at least, maybe that's not the problem. I don't know much about the commander, other than the fact they all see her as unbeatable. Maybe she isn't. The problem is with just about everything else. The suits can't just be taken off and put on anyone. They have to install them into the person at headquarters, and they wear them all the time they're attached to the soldier's body. They're filled with fluid that has to be changed. They're really complicated. We'd need to study them for a long time, and even then, we wouldn't have the technology to fit them onto someone else or replace the fluid. Then there's the blasters. I've never seen any soldier fire another soldier's weapon. What if they're somehow unique to them too, and only that soldier can use them? Then there's the boundary. We have no idea what allows them to go through it. It might have nothing to do with the armor. Maybe they have some kind of key put into their bodies that allows them to walk through no matter what. That's something else we'd have to study, and even if we did find some kind of key embedded into their body, there's no guarantee we'll be able to use it. If even one of these things goes wrong, which is almost a guarantee, the plan is going to end with all of us getting killed, possibly the moment we attack the commander.
Lucille sighed and slammed her fist onto the table. She didn't try to argue or ask any questions. She just leaned back in her chair, seething.
One step at a time.
Ludo said.
Let's keep an eye out while we're there and see if we can learn anything new. It seems like our biggest disadvantages are always the things we don't know. Get a good night's rest. Tomorrow, for once, PanTech will get as good as they give. Let them experience some adversity for once.
Chapter 25. The next day, we employed our plan. I took the straight path to the PanTech camp, and the others took a wide, semicircle approach. They might have thought it bold or clever for me to come up with this distraction so quickly, but the truth was much less complex than that. I wanted to meet the commander. I wanted to see if she was open to clearing Lightness's name or telling me more about him. I wanted to know if she was as terrible and scary as everyone made her out to be. Even though the truth was less complex, it was probably just as stupid it took being curious about terror ants and digging them up to see if everything you heard about them was true. Still, something about the commander just seemed off. She didn't behave like a professional soldier. She was more like lioness than the others, but none of that made sense. Is that why she gave him so many chances, or did they not get along, and that's why she wanted him dead? Was he competition? Probably not, since Linus hated being a soldier. He'd never try to make commander rank. But then again, did PanTech really care what anyone wanted for themselves? When it came down to it, I just didn't expect the commander to kill me. Maybe she'd threaten me or punish me in some way, but she didn't seem to care enough. As I approached the gate, I noticed there weren't any soldiers standing out front this time. Not wanting to startle anyone, I whistled loudly. For a few minutes, no one came. Was the camp abandoned? Did they assume that if they left it unattended, that no one would be stupid enough to walk in and take the risk? Normally, that might be a fair assumption, but they knew about the rebels. It's why they were here. Was this a trap? Did they know about this plan somehow? I whistled again, louder this time, and shouted, "Hello!" as loudly as I could. Again, I waited, and no one came. I fought the temptation to just walk in. For now, at least. I had to be patient. Ludo and the others may have arrived ahead of me and gotten caught. No, that shouldn't happen. We went over the pacing thoroughly. They should still be several minutes away, so what was taking so long? I whistled a third time, and this time 2 soldiers came to the gate.
"State your business,"
the first shouted. Before I could answer, the second soldier spoke up.
"Wait, isn't that the girl from before? The one who came to see Linus?"
It's me.
I shouted back.
Can I come closer so we don't have to yell?
They looked between each other for a moment, before the first soldier waved me over. I approached slowly and stopped a respectable distance away. From where I stood, I could tell that the second soldier was a woman due to the feminine shape of her armor, which was in stark contrast with her deep voice.
Would it be possible for me to meet with your commander?
I asked, with all the faux confidence I could muster.
"Absolutely not.
The female soldier snapped.
No one can just walk in here and meet with the commander. Or any of us, really. The only reason you were able to meet Linus is because he wanted to meet with you. We have rules to follow and protocols to observe."
"That's right.
The male soldier agreed.
Besides, we don't have time to babysit you, considering we aren't even getting breaks now, thanks to that free-for-all."
The female soldier jabbed him with her elbow. I guess this wasn't something they were supposed to admit so freely.
"Irrelevant.
The female soldier said.
You should be on your way. Before."
A figure stepped out of the tent behind them, revealing the beautiful, fire-haired commander.
"Oh, what's this all about?"
She said, her voice overflowing with amusement.
"Ma'am!"
"Ma'am."
Both soldiers shouted, spun around, and saluted in perfect unison.
"This girl."
The female soldier started.
"I wasn't asking you,"
she said.
"I'm asking her."
She pointed at me.
I, wanted to meet with you."
I stammered, caught off guard by her sudden appearance and forwardness, though I shouldn't have been.
"I don't know. I like visitors as much as anyone. But that didn't work out so well for Linus. Now did it?"
My cheeks flared with heat at the sudden wave of embarrassment. They really were somewhat alike, but she didn't stumble over her words the way Linus did with that kind of remark. She was quick and knew precisely what to say to throw everyone off their thoughts. She would not be easy to speak to. This was a mistake, but one too late to take back.
No, I just wanted to speak with you about Linus. Would that be all right?
She sighed and held open the tent door behind her, waving me in. I stepped inside and tried to absorb as much of my surroundings as possible. Tables lined the outer edges of the tent, each dedicated to a different task. Suit parts lay strewn across the longest of them. To my right, I recognized them. They belonged to Linus, Oscar, and Peter. Several pieces were damaged beyond repair. But what would I know? I'm sure PanTech has the knowledge and means to repair things I couldn't even comprehend, or reduce the pieces down to their base materials to build new armor, the way a blacksmith would melt iron and forge a new tool. Too many questions flooded my mind, but I wouldn't waste time on trivial things. I had little enough of it that it was precious, and I had to choose every question carefully. A large tank sat in the corner with hoses attached. Was this the machine that cycled the fluid in their armor, or was it used for something else? Since it sat near the pieces of armor, I suspected it was the former. Blasters and rifles rested on the table that ran along the back of the tent. There's not much mystery there beyond the obvious ones. Along the left side table, there appeared to be several small sealed containers in boxes. Food and drinks? It couldn't be ammunition. Their guns didn't use it. Medicine? She pointed to a chair in front of the table in the center, and I took a seat. A fourth soldier stepped into the tent, walking to the corner, only stopping for a moment to regard me. All wore their helmets except the commander, so I couldn't determine anything about their appearance beyond the bulky, dull, gray armor they wore. The soldier, who I assumed to be male based on their armor's appearance, nodded to the commander and walked into the corner, attaching one of the hoses to his armor. It seemed I'd guessed correctly. This was the machine that recycled the fluid used in their armor. It took every ounce of my willpower not to ask about it. 4 of them were in this tent. The commander was now sitting in front of me, 2 behind me, guarding the tent's exit, and now the 4th doing maintenance on his armor. This was a good fortune I didn't expect to have, and I wasn't about to squander it. Play it smart, play it carefully. This is your moment, Taylor.
So you aren't here to make friends, which is a shame. Just business, then?
What? No. I mean, yes, I wanted to talk to you about Linus.
Right, Linus.
She said, frowning.
What about him?
Why did you order Oscar and Peter to kill him?
I accused flatly, doing everything I could to mask the rising anger and prevent it from spilling into my voice, even as I asked the question.
That's a lie. Who told you that?
Her playful expression faded immediately, and she looked every bit as angry as I felt. Except she made no effort to hide hers.
Oscar and Peter said it. I heard them myself.
I told them they were authorized to use force only if Linus attacked them first.
Sounds like an obvious loophole. They tricked him into shooting first, so they could kill him. I'm glad they died in the process. Human garbage,
I said, gripping my hands together tightly in my lap. So much for containing my temper. She narrowed her eyes at me.
Are you calling me an idiot, girl?
I stood up from my chair, sending it toppling over behind me. I heard both guards behind me unholster and charge their blasters, but I didn't look back at them.
I do. What kind of fool gives an order like that knowing they already hated each other?
She stood up and flipped the table to the side, leaving nothing but open space between us. It was done with so little effort, so little movement, that it might have been a sheet of paper or a blade of grass, yet it must have weighed hundreds of pounds. I stood my ground, my fists clenched, not unaware of the surge of fear that left me mostly paralyzed. I could feel tears building up around my eyes, but I wasn't about to stand down. She stomped more than stepped and stopped directly in front of me. She brought her hand down toward my face, but stopped abruptly, running her fingers through my hair instead, with a mischievous grin. For a moment, I couldn't believe what was happening. I couldn't move. I held my breath and thought I might faint. When at last I finally regained control of my body, I pushed myself away from her. I drew back my hand and tried to slap her with all the force I could muster, but in a blur that was impossible for my eyes to follow, she caught my hand. I stared at her grip in disbelief, but when I looked at her face, she was still smiling.
I love it when someone has the guts to talk to me that way. So exciting. It's what I liked about Linus, too. It can be so boring around here, you know.
As she let go of my hand, she pushed me back, sending me falling to the ground.
You got what you came for. Linus was wrongfully murdered by his fellow soldiers. I'll amend the report and clear his name.
Thank you.
I stammered.
May I go now?
She laughed and shook her head.
It's my turn. I have some questions of my own, so listen closely.
I nodded, trying not to show my fear, but by now, I'm sure it was written all over my body. She continued.
Your village has a bit of a rebel problem, as you know. Do you know them?
I shook my head. She laughed again, louder this time.
You're lying, I can tell. Doesn't matter, though. I want you to be my informant, my pretty little bird that flies in and listens to the important details, then flaps her way back to me to sing the whole song. They'll talk to one of their own. Will you do it?
No.
I said, probably more surprised at my own words than she was.
Fair enough. How rude of me. Let me make you an offer. I'm one of the few in PanTech who can order a physical enhancer, like the one I'm fitted with, when I deem it necessary. How would you like to have one? Don't answer. Let me sweeten the deal even more. You're a veterinarian, so assuming you pass your exam, I'll let you bring a species of your choice back to study. Surely that appeals to your scientific mind. This is an opportunity rarer than you realize, but you see, I'm fairly lazy as an adversity zone manager, and I prefer to just let things run themselves. You could save me a lot of work. You scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. What do you say?
I opened my mouth, but my throat caught. Ghost. I could bring Ghost with me, but what was I thinking? I wanted to destroy PanTech, regardless of whether she was telling the truth about Linus or not.
You still hesitate? Fine, think about it. The offer stands until you refuse it, so I'll advise you not to rush. Go on, you're free to go.
She nodded to the soldiers standing behind me, who I'd forgotten about.
Escort this pretty little firebrand out of my camp.
The soldier, who had been standing in the corner the entire time, remained stoic. I could only imagine the expression they must be wearing on their faces. Oh, how I hated those helmets. I gritted my teeth as both soldiers came up behind me and grabbed an arm each. I didn't dare fight them. I'd already gotten far too lucky. She was every bit as dangerous and unpredictable as I thought she'd be, but not quite as cruel, somehow. I walked quietly with the two soldiers to the exit of the camp, where I was assisted with a generous shove that sent me toppling to my knees. That had taken a while, for sure, but I was playing with fire. More than I could likely handle, but that wasn't what mattered at the moment. They had plenty of time to grab all the supplies they could carry. My work here was done, and then some. Chapter 26. It turned out Ludo and the others were able to get their hands on a lot of supplies, and were probably gone long before the commander and I finished our conversation. Food, medicine, clean water, cloth, leather, iron, and more. Ludo promised they'd begin distributing the supplies to the people of the village in need of them as soon as possible, and I felt good that I was finally a part of something that dealt even the smallest blow to PanTech, while helping the people of the village. However, the excitement was short-lived, because the very next day, Ferris and I heard the news that the testing personnel had arrived and began mandatory registrations for the upcoming exams, and that meant us. Arriving at the registration tent just outside the village, we found ourselves waiting in a short but very slow-moving line. Everyone that had turned 18 years old since the last time they came was here, and thanks to Sleepyhead Ferris, we caught the tail end of it. Some of those standing in line looked overwhelmed with excitement and wonder. They couldn't wait to take the exam, and a part of me understood what they were thinking. If they'd never had personal dealings with PanTech and didn't ask many questions, PanTech probably seemed like some kind of abstract, harmless manifestation of benevolent gods. In reality, if it was a manifestation of anything, it was cruel and tyrannical gods who were only kind to those who obeyed and worshipped them absolutely. They hurt you for your own good, they'd say to the twisted gratitude of their subjects. And they weren't likely to be going anywhere anytime soon. I considered Lucille's plan. Even though there were problems, I was excited to think about how easy it might be under the correct circumstances if she had been right in her assumptions about the commander, their armor, weapons, and the boundary. Her plan might have actually worked. Or was I just dreaming too?
I need more testing kits.
The balding, bespectacled man in a white lab coat said to the soldier standing beside him.
This is the last box.
The soldier replied quietly.
Last box?
He shouted.
I had twice this much ordered. What do you mean this is the last box?
The soldier wasn't about to be intimidated by the man's shouting.
I mean, this is the last box.
Well, what happened to them? This is ridiculous. If I don't perform blood tests on these applicants, their transfer to PanTech could be delayed by as much as a week. This is an embarrassment.
A quiet sigh escaped the soldier's helmet.
They were stolen from our camp. Make do with what you have.
The man turned back around to the girl standing in front of him.
All right, be sure to hold still. If we fail this test, I'm not sure I'll have enough to test everyone else here.
The soldier sighed again, but I'm fairly certain the overly stressed man in the lab coat didn't even notice. I looked up to realize Ferris was staring at me with his brow furrowed.
Taylor.
He started, but thought better of continuing his sentence. Ferris was a lot of things, but stupidity is not one of them. Something on my face must have given me away. That, or the fact that I'd gone out at night without taking Ghost with me.
State your desired post. Your exam will be tailored to your area of interest.
The woman stared down at her feet, hesitating.
Go on, don't be shy.
More silence.
I know it's stupid, but can someone be a dancer? I told you it was stupid.
Dancer. All right, testing for dancer. Don't be silly, girl. There are many dancers.
Wow! Dancers? Really? I had seen some cultural dancing in our village before, but not often. It was considered to be mostly a waste of time, unless there was a specific celebration. Celebrations had gotten fewer and further between. I remembered that Mother's Adversity Zone had professional dancers. It made sense because the Emperor was so pampered and surrounded by beautiful women whose sole purpose was to entertain him. What if this girl's request landed her into the servitude of the same sort of horrible human being? Then again, what was I thinking? It's PanTech. Of course, they're awful human beings. He shooed the girl away and waved up the next person, a young man.
Hold out your finger, you'll feel a small prick.
The young man complied, but it didn't seem to hurt him much.
Soldier,
he said.
Well, I hadn't asked you that yet, but all right, soldier, I'm obligated to tell you that being a soldier is one of the more difficult positions to achieve. You must pass based on both intellectual and physical markers. Despite what you may think, the role of a soldier is one of the most revered positions in all of PanTech.
A loud cough came from the soldier behind him.
Oh, would you shut up?
The man in the coat said, turning to scold the soldier. The soldier did not indicate how he received the man's remarks, hidden beneath his expressionless helmet.
I'm sure. Soldier,
the boy said, ignoring the apparent spat.
Soldier, then. Next.
This continued with several others, until finally it was my turn.
Sorry, I don't have any more tests for the two of you. I'm afraid you should have shown up earlier instead of dragging your feet,
he said, adjusting his glasses.
All the same, choose your desired occupation.
Test registration taker,
I said. He narrowed his eyes and leaned in.
Excuse me?
I'll get to sit at a table and be grumpy all day, right?
The man started to open his mouth, but the soldier behind him interrupted whatever he'd planned to say with a loud and very unprofessional chuckle. Just one chuckle, but his helmet wasn't hiding this for him.
All right, if you want the most stressful and thankless job in all of PanTech,
Ferris kicked me so hard in the back of the foot that I thought my feet were going to be swept out from under me.
All right,
I said, bracing myself on the table to keep from stumbling forward.
Animal studies. I'm the veterinarian here. I want to continue researching animal medicine.
A lie, of course. I hadn't discussed my decision not to join PanTech with anyone, and didn't plan to. I didn't want to have another argument with my mother or disappoint her. Ferris, too. I'd have to keep up appearances.
Animal research. I've heard a rumor that the scientists there are about to begin some very exciting research. It is a rarely requested position, but perhaps it's the most ideal time to pursue it. Let's hope your brain is as smart as your mouth. If so, you should be fine. Next.
I stood aside and let Ferris step up. We really were the last ones to register. About time, too. I couldn't wait to get out of here.
Desired occupation?
Soldier.
Ferris said.
What?
I breathed, so surprised that it's a wonder I was able to say anything at all.
Soldier?
Soldier.
He repeated.
But Mother thought you'd want to pursue mathematics.
I know, I'm good at it too. Inherited the knack for it from father, I suppose. Still, soldier.
Soldier.
The man in the coat said, confirming.
I'm obligated to tell you that.
I overheard the warning earlier.
I am obligated.
The man continued, his eye twitching.
To tell you that the testing for the role of a soldier requires both intellectual and physical markers to be met. It is a prestigious position in the organization and is not easy to get. You may be given a choice to transfer into a different position if you fail only the physical marker. No one is transferred into the position of a soldier unless they apply for it.
That's a lie,
I said. The man's face turned as red as the commander's hair.
Girl, I'm about to have you removed from the testing. How dare you call me a liar?
Are you saying it's never happened? I know of a soldier who transferred to the position after his exam.
For a soldier to transfer into the position after the exam, it must be because he excelled to such a degree that PanTech felt it would be such a monumental waste of opportunity not to place them in the position. Such individuals typically receive high ranks and renown.
My heart sank, knowing that Linus resisted the system he was placed into. He renounced a road to power and fame.
I'm sorry. Just catch up to me, Ferris. I want to be alone for a few minutes.
I turned and walked quickly away, stopping between the tent and the village to wait for Ferris, wiping my eyes in hopes they'd be dry by the time Ferris came back. A few minutes later, they still weren't. Ferris caught up to me and hugged me tightly.
I understand why he didn't want that life.
Do you?
I shouted.
It seems that you don't, since you chose it as your profession. Do you want to go around making things hard for children of other zones, taking away their food if they have too much, introducing predators if they're too safe? Do you understand, Ferris?
He looked to the side, taking a deep breath before meeting my gaze again.
I do. I want to make sure there are as many sympathetic soldiers as possible. I want to be like Linus. Think about what would have happened if that giant snake had been set loose upon us, and there was no Linus to stand up to them and help you deal with it.
Linus died doing that.
I was nearly screaming now, grabbing onto his shirt, before lowering my voice, remembering that we were out of hearing distance of everyone at the moment, but maybe not shouting distance.
I don't want you to die.
I can do small things, Taylor. I don't have to be the big hero Linus was, but little things make a difference too. I'll be careful. I won't get myself killed or get into too much trouble, but I'll make a difference. The night he stayed with us, Linus told me many stories about things he'd done and gotten away with. There's a line, and you can stay just behind it.
Remembering what the commander said to me, I think I understood the real reason Linus got away with so much. The commander liked having him around. She didn't find him boring, and she found that attractive, I suppose. I shuddered at the thought.
You're a man, Ferris. You can decide. I'm sorry for judging you.
It's all right,
he said.
Because I have something to say to you, too. Consider us even after I do. I think you were involved in stealing the supplies. Taylor, please, if you're involved with the rebels, stop before it's too late. It won't end well. I could tell by how you were so relaxed and gave that sarcastic answer that you don't really plan on joining. But please, just think about it. We can make a difference, Taylor. You heard what he said. There's something major coming to animal research. What if you can influence that research to make a difference? So much of a difference that even PanTech can't stop it from helping everyone. Even Father would approve of that. Please, you don't have to say anything, but think about it. It's all I'm asking.
I didn't say anything. I'd already made up my mind. Even if I found a way to cure every disease and sickness known, make everyone immortal, and make rainbows show up in the sky every day, PanTech would still find some way to use it to harm everyone. They'd cure only those in their service, make their leaders immortal, and I'm not sure what they'd do with rainbows, but they'd find something. No, if I learned one thing from Linus, it was that no good could come from the inside. They needed to be destroyed from the outside. It was time to go speak to Ludo and the others and tell them I'd made my decision. If you're enjoying F. Lockhaven's audio content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel.